Hello and welcome to Theme Park Real Talk, the show that talks about theme parks and our feels about them, good or bad.
I'm Amy and this is Andy, and we're not here to hold back, and we hope you don't either.
And first things first, this week we are on all of the socials. We are on all the social medias. As of this week, we're on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram and TikTok.
Yes, we now have a TikTok, and I created the Instagram, but there's nothing on there yet, but we will be.
You should take it on faith that it's going to be awesome and follow us anyway. So
yeah, so connect with us.
Yeah, and you can find all our links on themeparkrealtalk.com. So hopefully, we can hear from you guys and see what you want to hear and what you think of our episodes
and all of our theme park shenanigans. This week we're starting with more sad news. Another Disney legend, Ruthie Tompson, best known for her work on animated features at Disney. She passed away, unfortunately, but she did live to the very, very ripe old age of 111.
111, incredible.
There is something in that Disney water. I don't know what it is, but animators seem to live extremely long lives.
It's true. I was just telling you, my grandmother was an animator in Cuba, and she lived to be almost 100 herself. But whenever I go to Disney Springs and they have the different celebrations of different cultures and the LGBTQ celebration, they always put up those panels of celebrating the various artists and Disney family members that are part of the heritage that they're celebrating, and every single one of them is like, so and so lived to be 105 years old, so and so is 106 when he passed. Like, it's just something about animation, it makes you live a really long time. So
it's so true. She got started in the animation department with Lonesome Ghost that haunted, speaking of how, we're coming up on Halloween, so that's a pretty good way to start. She did Lonesome Ghost. She worked on Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, Fantasia. The last things she seemed to be doing were in the 70s era of The Rescuers, The Lord of the Rings that Disney did, and a short film. I don't know if it's a short film, a film called One Metamorphosis, but she started in 1937, famously in the ink and paint department. And there was that famous letter from Disney in response to a woman who wanted to work at Disney as an animator. And basically Disney wrote back saying, well, a women's work is more kind of in the painting department and not so much in the creative zone. So that she worked so early on these early films and then just kind of worked her way up as an animator kind of shows the talent that she had and her persistence, and that she was able to stay and also able to build a career as an animator is ambitious for that era.
It's incredible, but it is very telling that a lot of her credits are uncredited. So she wasn't credited on the original cast and crew list. But of course now we know that, even in the 60s, it's like scene planners and all the roles that she had, she wasn't really always credited for her work, but now she is posthumously. And she had a very long career, so we will miss you, Ruthie. And
let's pour one out for Ruthie. Another
water
another one for Ruthie. Hopefully we won't start next week with another sad tale of another Disney legend.
It is sad, but we're celebrating her. We are definitely celebrating her, because she had an amazing life that many people today still aspire to have. A 45-year career in animation, and especially the time she lived in, she was certainly a pioneer. So
especially working for Disney, and she was part of the original group there. So thanks, Ruthie. One for her. Speaking of Disney and Disneyland in California, there was a lot of Disney news that came out this week. So the biggest thing that happened at Disneyland was the complaints about the Dream Key Pass and the pass system that's happening right now at Disneyland. Reservations are really hard to get for Dream Key pass holders, which is the top tier of the new pass system for Disneyland. And
you predicted this. You predicted this would happen.
Saw it coming.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Saw it coming.
You did. You really, 2 weeks ago on the show, you said this is going to make it a nightmare for people who are supposed to be having the easiest time of getting reservations. So
I was like, it's going to be a Yes, and I'm sad to say that I was right, because I don't want to be right. Like,
Right.
especially for this, we've said it that the top tier should be able to at least get reservations for the times that they want to go. They're paying $1,400 for their pass. And I think I don't remember specifically, but there is like a period of, you have 90 days to make your reservations, whereas people who have 1-day passes will have, 60 days,
60,
a shorter,
yeah,
a
60
shorter
days.
period of time. But now, because of reservations, which are necessary in limited capacity with Disneyland and the Disney parks, pass holders are having trouble getting those reservations. So for example, they want to go on a weekend in October, and the October weekend started selling out already back in September. So they're not able to go or plan for weekends that they're paying for. That's the difference also, is that Dream Key is available on weekends, whereas the last pass that's available for everyone is only available on the weekdays. So now it's like, well, people can't go on the weekdays, and that's the reason that they're getting the pass that has the weekend option on
access,
it. Right. And now that's not happening. So people were looking to see what was available. And for October, there's nothing left. November is going very quickly. December is also going very quickly.
The holidays, forget it.
The holidays will not be an option soon. So the people are discovering that if you were to buy a 1-day ticket on a certain tier, you have the ability to make a reservation. Or if you have a 2-day ticket, you're able to make a reservation. So people are wondering why, as pass holders, they're not able to get those reservations that you would get just being somebody who doesn't
just
have
bought a ticket.
That just bought a ticket for the day. So
that sounds shady. That sounds shady. I'm just saying that sounds a little shady, Disneyland. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not wrong. You ain't wrong. And they were making comparisons against like Walt Disney World and their reservation system, which seems completely open at this point. You can see like, you can check it on the app, and Disney World has like these little green dots to let you know that you're available to go go on any day. Whereas Disneyland, we have our little castle, and it's completely grayed out on the weekends. It's grayed out on the weekdays. So yeah, I think it's totally unfair for I'm with pass holders on this one thing, which is that if they're paying for weekends and they're paying for access to be able to go to the parks, and they should be able to get that service. And I'm kind of wondering why it's not happening.
It sounds like they're behind 1-day ticket holders, which is that's where I think is if everybody had the same fair access to it, then you'd be like, well, first come, first serve. What are you going to do? I mean, at this point, all the theme parks, not just Disney, all theme parks around the world right now, they're all just trying to not keep afloat, but just manage their business and manage capacity. And it's all a learning curve. And it's to be expected that there's going to be some glitches and some things that are not really ideal, because all these kinks are still being worked out. But at the very least, it's common sense to have it be first come, first serve. But it sounds as though the 1-day ticket holders are taking priority over the pass holders, and that is probably what's rubbing people wrong. So
yeah, it doesn't seem right. The pass system was introduced back in August.
Yeah.
So it's October now, and the holidays are coming up. So people do want to go more often because they want to see decorations that are happening at Disneyland and California Adventure. And so, I can't, people do want to go, after work, and it's difficult for them to get a reservation then. And I have no problem with people who just want to go for the day, but like just being able to plan to go for a weekend shouldn't be such a trial. Like if they wanted to go on a Saturday and capacity is open because it's available to 1-day ticket holders or 2-day ticket holders, then I would have a problem with that as a pass holder. I am not. Yeah. I'm not as of yet. I wouldn't need it, but I mean, it seems to be an issue, and I don't know. Disneyland.
The Disney. I have an annual pass to Disney World, to the Florida parks, and the all of the weekends for October are blocked out for my tier level, because I got like the second to lowest tier, just because it works out best for my family, and it ended up happening. That's what ended up happening, is that because of the 50th anniversary celebration, all of the weekends in October are black out, but it's pretty easy to get a reservation outside of that. I actually have a couple of reservations already for the holiday season. I'm a person that doesn't necessarily like to go like right on a holiday, because I have done that before. I've gone for the 4th of July, I have gone for Thanksgiving, and the crowds are unreal. And not just that, it's, I don't know, like it's a whole thing to go to Disney World when you, and nobody lives near Disney World. A lot of
Right.
people don't know this. You can't, nobody lives, because Disney bought all of the property surrounding it. So the closest you can really live is like 15-20 minutes away. But I happen to live in a suburb, and so it takes me a while. So you're fighting through holiday traffic. And for what? For like to go to a theme park that you could go a week before and see the exact same decorations and
Right.
things like that. So I mean, for me, it's never really been, for 4th of July, I haven't gone in a couple of years, but when I went, it was just, to the gills with people. It was just horribly, horribly crowded.
Right.
It just wasn't fun in the middle of a Florida summer too. So for it really, it's very hit or miss. I think if you're out of town and you're here like as an out of towner on a holiday, or it makes sense. But so I'm not really too concerned about not having access to, but I have some holiday some holiday reservations pretty close to the holidays, so I can kind of get the gist and then go home.
Right.
Just I get the idea and then go home, because they kind of have all the photo ops and all that stuff and all the decorations since they're going to end mid-November for when Food and Wine Festival is over. So I'm not too concerned about missing that out. But I mean, it's different in Disneyland, because this is a place where a lot of people usually go to just to go chill out and hang out after work. And it does, I think, probably maybe doesn't work as seamlessly in LA as it does in New York, because a lot of people here, like a lot of the Florida AP holders, really like the reservation system, just because the capacity is down. You're not fighting shoulder to shoulder crowds. The lines are a lot shorter. It's even better for out of town guests, because it does give everybody a fair opportunity to ride any ride that they want to. So it really works out for the Florida parks, but it sounds like it's not translating as seamlessly to the LA ones.
Right. Like, I'm absolutely not ragging on the reservation system. I really like the reservation system too. It works for me as an out of towner because I was able to plan my days in advance. But definitely, I think it's more of people who are maybe traveling in 1 day or 2 days, just like spontaneously. And it does bother locals, because there's a lot of AP locals in Los Angeles. But I really think that Disney just needs to straighten it out and see what works best for everybody. And I am definitely not talking price hike. I'm just talking a way to figure out how to prioritize one over the other. Or maybe if reservations aren't filling up, capacity is not filling up that day, release reservations for people who are pass holders so that they're able to go. That is just a suggestion. So hopefully Disneyland will be able to work that out. But I guess time will tell.
Time will definitely tell. But just to kind of move on to the next thing that we wanted to talk about is the Disney Genie Pass that officially is debuting October 19th. And that does not seem like a step down in terms of complicatedness, because I think the Disney community has been grappling with this for ever since it was announced, because it's so it's a lot of people are saying it's very convoluted and difficult to understand. And I think I understand how it's working, but I also understand where it goes off the rails. And
it's also already active in Paris, so they're dealing with it. They're experiencing it right now, and so I haven't heard anything much coming out of Paris, but especially for Florida, which is such a big traveler theme park, a lot of people coming in and out of Florida and going to those parks. Very curious how it's going to look while it's there and while people begin to use it, because people will be using it.
Of course. No, for sure. I mean, it starts out pretty straightforward. So you have the Genie Plus, I think it's called the Genie Plus Pass, right? That's the pass, and it works pretty much exactly like the Fast Pass used to work. So you have to reserve certain rides, and then you come back at certain times in certain time windows, and you can ride that with a very short 5-minute wait time. The only difference, there's two differences with this one. One is that you can't re-ride any ride. So with the old Fast Pass system, once you used up your, that really does. Once you used up those 3 passes, you could just then on a rolling basis get more fast passes like one at a time, and so you could re-ride things at that point. I didn't a lot of times, just because when you're in the parks you have a very short amount of time, and you don't necessarily, unless you really love a ride and want to see it twice, which does happen.
Yeah.
But so there was that, and also there is the fact that this is $15 per person. A lot of people are upset that Disney is already a very expensive undertaking, especially if you have a family. $15 a person per day is not as expensive as Universal's pass, the express pass that they have, which is it's $100 a day, and I think it's even more for like the extra express one. I forget what they call it, but it's like there's tiers of express passes there. I mean, $100 a day per person, it's almost double the ticket amount. So $15 is pretty reasonable, I think, especially if for a small family, it's not a huge expense. But I mean, maybe if you're one of those 20-person family reunions or whatever that I see all the time, that walk in a straight horizontal line, just like no care in the world, and everybody loves those people. 20 people family reunions at Disney World. I see them all the time. They're great. They're so much fun. But unless maybe you have 20 people in your party, maybe then you're like, okay, that's a lot of money. But for most families, it's not going to be a huge expense.
I'd equate it to like a meal, like one meal at Disney. Right. Like if you're spending $15 on each person, then that's what you're dedicating to this pass.
Or one souvenir or something like that. But where it starts to get dicey, and I think where they lose the plot, is the Lightning Pass. Because instead of, so the Fast Pass kind of used to work the same way. So you would have like a special tier of like their popular rides, and I think you could only get one. You couldn't re-ride those, but you could re-ride the lower tier ones. But instead of bundling it all up into the Genie Pass, they're charging extra on top of now not necessarily on top. They're actually independent services. So you don't have to get the Genie Pass to get the Lightning Pass. So if you only want to pay for expedited service to like Rise of the Resistance, for example, in Hollywood Studios, then you can do that. You can just pay a la carte for that, the extra, the fast pass, the fast access to just that one ride. You can get both, and you can get one or the other. So I just feel like that's where they lost the plot, is the Lightning Pass. I think if they had bundled everything together, it would be just a lot more intuitive. I think I know people, I had to read this a few times myself to kind of really wrap my head around what they're trying to do. I feel like they're going to maybe tweak that process, because it's just too complicated, because there's just too many moving parts for, like if you have 4 or 5 people in your party, and just figuring out what to pay for whom. And even in the app, it's not necessarily intuitive, like how to get those things.
It works in the same way as a fast pass. The last time I went to Disney World, I had no idea what the tier systems were. I mean, they asked me to choose my fast passes in advance. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And so, I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning over here on the West Coast, like making my selections, but it didn't necessarily say like, okay, well, this is considered like a tier 1 attraction. So you only have one option of this.
Right.
And then subsequently you'll have the lower tiered ones. So for example, we have a little chart here. The Walt Disney World Lightning Lane attractions at Magic Kingdom are Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Space Mountain. Okay.
Who knew? That one kind of befuddled me. Is that really like the second most popular ride at Magic Kingdom? Okay.
Everybody who comes to California says the one in Florida is so much better. And I'm like, why? Is it just because because we have no, I'm sorry, that's the other way around. People like ours because we have a lot of different sounds, I guess. But the one in Florida, I guess, is nice because it's individual seats, as opposed to ours here, which have double seats, which sometimes doesn't work out well. Anyway, segue. But the Lightning Lanes at Epcot will be Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Frozen Ever After. The ones at Hollywood Studios are Rise of the Resistance, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and at Animal Kingdom, it is of course Flight of Passage and Expedition Everest. I don't know if it's just because of the time I go. I have never waited in line for that ride, like ever. I don't know why. That's one of those. Well, maybe if it's a busy summer, like
it's one of the few roller coasters, like real hardcore, like legit roller coasters. I mean, we have the Slinky Dog Dash, which is pretty good, and we have, a couple of others that come
Yeah,
close, but it is one of the few legit roller coasters. So for the thrill seekers that come
that's true.
through the Disney parks, that is a big differentiator between Orlando's Universal and Disney parks, is that Universal has a ton of real roller
Fun.
coasters. I
Hmm.
mean, like hardcore ones too, like their Hulk ride is, will knock your socks off. And Disney doesn't really have a whole lot that's comparable. Even like the Hagrid ride that debuted
Mm,
pretty recently, it's a really good roller coaster. And
yeah.
there's not a lot that's comparable to that in Disney. So for the thrill seekers, that tends to be the Expedition Everest tends to be really, really popular. But you're
Okay.
right.
Valid.
I
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom. To be honest, I have never seen lines at Animal Kingdom that be all that significant at all. I would wager, I don't have any access to like numbers, but I would wager that's probably the least visited of all the parks.
Yeah.
So I
The
don't know
only
how
thing,
intense the rides get. The
right.
lines.
I could see people paying for Flight of Passage on like
Yeah.
a crazy day. But that's the thing. The other thing that this works is it'll work like the fast pass system, in which the fast pass system, just by its creation, slows down the standby lane because you're letting people into this lightning lane system. And so I'm curious how, if they think that, if you pay for it a la carte, that means that less people will use it. And so maybe they think it'll balance like the amount of people who are in standby, and it won't be as busy as the former fast pass system was. I don't know what the thinking is behind that, but maybe that could be one of the reasons, is like, well, maybe people won't pay for this, and then
I mean, maybe,
yeah,
and
I
we
don't know.
have briefly touched on the fact that Disney's really good about giving people disability access, and
Hmm.
this may be a way to not mitigate that, but be a stopgap for
Mm,
people who may want to do this instead of going through guest services and registering as having a person who's, or for larger parties it's really hard to,
that's
because
true.
the disability access pass at Disney World only accommodates up to 6 people in your party, and anybody that's outside of that party doesn't. So this doesn't get access to the privileges of the disability access pass. So if you have a larger party, this might make sense. So there's a few use cases I can kind of see it working for. I don't think it's very expensive. I would actually be very curious to see if there is a sort of a domino effect of
Mm,
how the disability access passes get handled going forward, just because I do think that is a factor in how much more rigorous the process of getting a disability access pass in Universal Studios is because they do want to funnel people, as many people as possible, into their paying for the
right.
express.
Yeah.
So I was that did cross. I don't want to be cynical, but that thought
Yeah.
did cross my mind to see if because, but $15 per person is not a huge. It's not $100 a person. So the
Right.
profit
But
margin is
it
not
could
there.
it could equate $100 if you're going, let's say you get it for the, I wish there was a, a package deal if you could get it for
Yeah,
the week instead of it having be individual per day, because that adds up like a lot if you're going for the week and you decide to get,
for sure.
the fast pass system for the entire week, and then you're like, well, I want to ride this ride, and then you're going to end up buying lightning lane, and yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely dips into whatever your budget looks like for the
Look,
park. So
my prediction for this is, well, so yeah, that's the thing, is if you're doing lightning lane rides as well as the Genie, that is a significant expenditure. I think
yeah.
somebody said that it averaged out to $40 extra per guest, and like you have a family of five, that's $200 extra a day. That is a lot of money. That, especially if you're doing there 5 days, it's an extra grand that you're
Right.
doing. So it is a significant expenditure depending on your situation.
Hmm.
I predict Disney will simplify this process. The feedback has tremendously been, we don't mind the price, but what the hell is the system? Like, this
Yeah.
is a mess. This is so hard to figure out, and there's just so many moving parts to it. I just feel that it's not hard to figure out if you sit there and you take the time to like tease out all of the different ways that it works. And just the fact that they are two different services that are
Yeah.
a la carte, like that makes no sense to me. Just they have to bundle it, they have to make it simplified. They probably will tie it into tickets and to get into the parks. They may tie it into, like they do for Universal, they may tie it into some pass tiers in a future date.
Right.
So remains to be seen. But it's definitely here to stay. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to take it away. There's no unringing this bell. I think once they've, once they start charging you, they're not going to start giving this stuff away for free. But I do think they're going to simplify it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they heavily modified or did away with the Lightning Pass
Mm.
altogether and just kind of folded it into the Genie Pass, even if that meant a slight price hike for the Genie. So
Yeah, I was looking up just to try to get a hold of this whole Genie Plus thing, but they called it tailored recommendations listed on Disney Parks blog. So it says you'll receive attraction and dining recommendations inspired in part by what you told Disney Genie service you're most interested in doing. And I remember back in 2015 when I went to the parks, this already existed in the system, because when I was choosing fast passes for my trip, it said, do you want to go morning? Do you want to go noon? Do you want to go at night? So I'd be like, well, I want to go in the afternoon. So it gives you 3 times that had available for certain rides, and you pick
Right.
the level of what you wanted to do. And so I can see how they're just modifying the the system already and just calling it something different. They're calling it Genie because it's trying to act like a personal assistant, like a personal reservation service inside of the app. But like, it's not really like you're making recommendations, but you're like, well, I want to eat at Grand Floridian tonight. Like, are my reservations on there? And how they're not going to tailor it specific. I don't think anyway, they'll tailor it specifically to your vacation, but it'll make suggestions for you on maybe dining reservations so you can go there after you've done your fast passes. And I don't know, like Disney people are such planners. Like, I don't know if that'll jive with like people who do want to plan out their vacations. I mean, people were frustrated with the fast pass system, I remember in Florida already, because they had trouble changing their fast passes. Like, I want to go on Slinky Dog, but Slinky Dog doesn't have time, so I'm just going to go on Peter Pan. But they're still not going on the things that they want to go to. So I'm curious how this system will improve upon it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it's going to improve their bottom line.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's improving their profit margin, but past that, I don't know. But I definitely foresee that they're going to simplify it, because I mean,
right.
The feedback was universal about how it was just too convoluted. Even people who understood it, it's just too convoluted. The fact that it's side by side, that I think that's where they went wrong. If they had made the Lightning Pass part of the Genie Plus Pass, then I think that would have worked. But the fact that you can get one or both or one or the other or one at the same time, or then the whole a la carte thing is too much. It's too much for people who are already taking 2 kids or whatever.
And you were talking about, you were saying, financially also, there was this TikTok creator who had mentioned that, I don't know if he was a former cast member, but that the fast passes used to include photo pass service on them. So in case, for example, if anything went wrong with the rides and you weren't able to get a fast pass because they ran out of fast passes, Disney had the excuse of, oh, well, we didn't promise you fast passes, but you do have this as a photo pass. So you have all of your pictures from the entire day. And that is what Disney would say if you didn't get fast pass, right? As your consolation prize. Like, you already paid for the photo service, so enjoy your pictures, but we didn't promise you anything about fast passes because we said they could potentially run out. So now that this, Genie Plus is not including photo pass, you have to purchase that separately. We talked about it before in Walt Disney World. They have a whole package. Disneyland, now they have packages. Now Disney doesn't have anything to fall back on these passes if you run out of fast passes and run out of time. Like, what are they going to say? Like,
they have to deliver because you paid for it, either that or going to refund. I mean, that actually crossed my mind too, because what happens if everybody decides on a Saturday afternoon, let's say the Saturday before Christmas Eve, which is traditionally one of the busiest days of the year, at the Magic Kingdom or whatever, and everybody decides to buy a fast pass then it's meaningless. Everybody decides to buy the Genie Plus whatever or the Lightning Pass for whatever popular ride is, or the Seven Dwarfs Mine. Then it's meaningless because then everybody has a fast pass. It's the same as a standby line. So I don't know. I think they're still working on they're still working on the logistics of that, but I do predict that tweaks are afoot.
Yeah,
Tweaks are.
that happened all the time at Disneyland, that people would buy the passes later in the max pass later in the day, like at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because they didn't feel like standing in lines. But by the time they already bought it, all those fast passes were gone for the big rides, like Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, Small World, especially during the holidays. Like that stuff is gone. But Disney's fallback is, well, you have photo pass, you can get as many photos as you want, and now there's nothing. So
as of right now, as the official announcement from the parks is that there will be no caps on Genie. There will be no caps on the passes, and they are not capping it. They will not. If every single person walking through the gates buys one, then it is what it is, because they are. That is the official word. Is as of right now, they will not be capping that. So we will see how the chips.
Well, that's a choice. So, oh my God. I didn't know that.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? What could go wrong? I just see lines upon lines at guest relations being like, I bought this pass and it cost me, my family, $150, and I didn't get to go on anything, like on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Well, the thing, they're debuting this right before, like literally 2 weeks before the holiday season starts, because the Halloween is a big day in the parks as well. A lot of people like to go to the parks on Halloween,
right?
And especially this year that it falls on a weekend. Forget it; it's going to be through the roof. The crowds, I mean, it's probably going to hit capacity and all this. So I can absolutely see that scenario playing out. And just, I think I don't know if they really thought through every possible scenario. But this is Disney, and they rarely have a method to their madness typically. So
they think that. So we'll just see where it goes. But let's move on to a different park before we lose our darn minds. Universal Studios Orlando is closing Shrek 4D. How do you feel about this? Did you see Shrek?
I did. I went once. It was quite a few years ago. I don't know. I can see why. It's the same logic as to why Disney churns out different things. Shrek, now that it's not a timeless classic, I just watched Shrek with some friends' kids pretty recently. It's still funny. It's still cute. But, they have a lot of other things going on, and I'm sure that they're going to want to update it to something that is more immediate and recognizable to, especially with all the changes they're making with Epic Universe and all this other stuff that's coming. Universal has a lot of intellectual property as well. I mean, maybe not as much as Disney at this point in time, but they have a lot to choose from. And so I don't blame them for closing it. They closed Bill and Ted's special for Halloween Horror Nights a couple years ago. That hurt me personally, because I'm a big Bill and Ted fan from way back, but I got it too, because again, this is something I've been a fan of for 30 something years, so I understood why it was time to update, kind of thing. So
I do still miss the Beetlejuice review spectacular that was at Universal for such a long time.
It was. I understand, though. I do understand them wanting to not keep things stale and to switch things out and keep things fresh. And there's been no announcement yet about what they're going to replace it with. Some people were like, maybe it'll be Shrek 5D. I don't think so. Movies or something, maybe more Minions. God, I hope not, because there's a lot of minions happening at Universal Studios, and so I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I understand why they did away with it. So.
Yeah, it's been there for 17 years, and so didn't quite make it to 20, but too bad for them. I am very open to Universal bringing Back to the Future if they would like to go ahead and just slip that in and see if people would notice. That'd be great.
That would be great.
Let's bring that back. So that's closing. I think I don't know if it's all parks, but it did say for Orlando that Christmas celebrations will start November 13th and run through January 2nd. Have you been for the holidays at Universal?
I have. I was there just after the holidays, but the last time I was there, and but I have been there. It's really pretty. They do definitely make the most like Dr. Seuss and things like that. It's definitely very, very like little kid friendly. Not so much with the like adult. There's not like the festival holidays at Epcot is I think pretty adult oriented, and that they have the different cultural markers of, France and Italy, of the different traditions of the holidays around the world. I think maybe like if you're a little child, that's maybe not as interesting as like
Right.
the Dr. Seuss holiday stuff. And, but so I think it's very kid friendly. It's really cute and very bright and colorful, and it's lots of fun. I haven't been in a long time though. So I know they do plan a lot of, all the parks do. I mean, SeaWorld has a huge Christmas celebration and holiday celebration as well. So, but no, I haven't been there yet.
Are there SeaWorld's characters are peanuts, right? Is that
Yes.
their okay? I was just checking.
Peanuts and the not the Muppets, Sesame Street too. I think
Oh,
they have,
Sesame Street. That's right. Okay. They have a handle on those. Yeah, Universal Studios Hollywood does a holiday show at Hogwarts Castle at nighttime. So they have their celebrations. It's not as heavily decorated as Disney, but they do their best. In the middle of Universal City Walk, they have a giant Christmas tree every single year. And so they try to make it feel like the holidays, and especially in Los Angeles, that can be very hard to do. Same with Orlando, because it's usually very hot. So everybody does their best.
What's funny about the holidays with the Harry Potter land in Universal Studios is that Miss Joanne Rowling, she does not give permission for Halloween Horror Nights to be extended into the Harry Potter land. She doesn't want the scare actors jumping out at you from behind Diagon Alley trash cans with a chainsaw. She didn't want that. She did not.
She didn't like that.
No, she didn't give permission. She did give permission for Christmas, but she did not give permission for Halloween, because that's
odd.
What you can still go to the rides. You can still wander around Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade. But it's scare actor free. It is not part of Halloween Horror Nights. So that's a little fun fact there. It's like any other time that you would go, essentially. So
really, well, she has made her choices too, so we can all ignore.
I just think it's free. I just think it's interesting that they go all out for the holidays, but not for Halloween, where it's a park that goes all out for Halloween otherwise. So it's just a really kind of incongruous, I think.
Right, and Harry Potter, which has become the fabric of Halloween's past,
absolutely.
And kids who want to dress up as their favorite Harry Potter characters, but I don't know.
And you can their costume. Universal Studios costume rules are more lax than at Disney, so you can't look like you are a Disney cast member so you can like Disney bound, but you can't really wear like costumes per se. So I've dressed as Snow White, and when I was blonde, I wore dressed as Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, and but they were not real costumes. They were like Disney bound. You can get clothes, but you can't actually go in an actual costume unless I think you have to be under a certain age, I think 14 and under, but you still can't wear masks. You can't have, but I've seen people in full on, Bobaton cosplays wandering around Diagon Alley, like full Rowena Ravenclaw ball gowns types of things. And these are they don't, like, Universal Studios doesn't care if you think that some random stranger is part of their employees. That's why Disney doesn't allow those costumes. They don't want anything. They don't want you to bump into someone and think they work for Disney and they're just somebody on vacation. They don't want that to spoil your Disney experience. They
don't want to spoil the magic. They just want to create their own.
They don't want it. They don't want it to they don't want, plus, they're just very particular about who gets to use their IP. So they don't want to be representing them if you're not. But Universal Studios will let you walk around. I've seen full cosplays at Universal Studios. Like, I even saw this one guy who he goes to cons here too. He has he plays the guy who was Kenneth Branagh's character.
Yes. I don't know Harry Potter as well.
So but it's a really obnoxious guy who has a book of himself, and the book in the movie has a picture of himself moving. And so this guy has like a whole iPad. It's like a whole prop. It looks like a book, but it's an iPad of a recording of himself. Like, it's this whole, he brought a whole complicated prop. He was wandering around Universal Studios just like on a random Thursday the last time I went there. So they don't care. They allow full cosplays for Halloween and for costumes and things. So it's a missed opportunity maybe, but that's how they decided it. She gets to say whether or not people.
Sure. Gilderoy Lockhart. I looked that up.
Gilderoy Lockhart. That's him. That was him. Yes.
Look that up.
The
Speaking of, yeah,
cosplayer that has the whole book with the anime. But yeah, so they, I mean, I cannot imagine anybody getting away with that at Disney.
no, I was just thinking somebody asked that on a Facebook group this week if she and her family wanted to dress up for like Oogie Boogie Day, even though she's not going to the Halloween party, and was she
Yeah.
allowed to get dressed up at Disneyland? And everybody was like a string of no,
Yeah.
because there was no way. They will tell you to change, or they will
Yeah.
tell you if you're doing full costume, they will tell you to wear
Yeah.
something else. So like, don't even try it. But apparently at Universal, you can just kind of go nuts, right?
Yeah, you can. I'm telling you, I saw a whole fleet of Bobaton students, and they were not. They were just like kids, you know. They're just
I love
hanging around.
this.
So
This is what
yeah.
I love. Speaking of more fandoms with people with lots of fans, Universal Studios Japan announced a collaboration with Pokemon that's going to be starting in 2022. So Pokemon players are about to lose their ever-loving minds when they go to.
So what is it's going to be like what they're doing with Super Mario Land, right? They're going to be doing a whole land. They're going to be doing like they're building it out, and hopefully the hope is that it will make it over to the ones in LA and in Orlando too.
Hopefully.
But for now, it's only been announced in Japan. They're only doing it in Japan, and so it's like a whole theme park experience. So they're partnering. It's like an official thing. So.
Yeah, I've never seen the layout for Universal Studios Japan, but it sounds like they've got a lot of room to be building over there, because they're just throwing.
It really. Well, the park is. I've heard. I've never been. I have yet to go.
Yeah.
But the park is enormous, and the fact that they are adding like whole lands, you know, they have to have a lot of space there. I don't really know.
Right.
It's a good. We should investigate.
We should look that up. Yeah, especially if you want to like go to Japan and just immerse yourself in these video game worlds. Like, go to Japan, because they seem to have all the room and all the stuff. It's all the stuff for you. But they're starting in 2022, and they're also starting the Donkey Kong Land. That's an add-on to the Super Mario Land in 2022. So I'm assuming that one's supposed to be debuting in 2024. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking maybe the Pokemon one, maybe either 2024 or 25. Yeah, they didn't say anything about how big the expanse is going to be, but they did mention that there's going to be like more interactions, maybe in kind of video game immersive. I don't know if they're going to be building as much. That's why they were able to do it earlier than Donkey Kong and just Donkey Kong, because it is 2024.
I mean, it's Pokemon. It's got to be interactive. It's Pokemon. I'm kind of wondering too if they're gonna like. Can you imagine playing Pokemon Go?
I was just thinking that. Because like, imagine you have your console like in your phone in your hand, and like you see them just like hanging out, but it's real. Like, it's real.
It's really that's going to be amazing.
You're like, I found it. Like,
they have to have some. I mean, Pokemon is inherently interactive. They're gonna come up with some brilliant stuff. I really can't wait to see it, because
oh my god.
I mean, it's going to be incredible. So we have to keep our ear to the ground about any developments about that.
Like, I'm not even a Pokemon fan, but that sounds super exciting. Like, I want to get involved.
I am. Well, my kid is. My kid's a big Pokemon fan since way back, and so I sort of just by osmosis have just acquired it. A lot of information about the Pokemon fandom, but it's a lot of fun. I did play Pokemon Go for a long time. My best friend plays Pokemon Go still, and it's gotten very sophisticated. So I'm just assuming they're gonna use all these different this different information that they have from all these different successful launches that they have, whether it be the app. And I'm just imagining in terms of interactivity that they're going to do something not like Pokemon Go, not as prolonged and sophisticated. Like I said, there are people who've been playing it for 5 years, but probably won't take you 5 years to go through this. But I can see an app interaction or some kind of
like as soon as you step into the park, like something on your app or whatever they have for their systems to be able to like search or make it an interactive game throughout the day, like something fun. That sounds like something Universal Studios Japan would do, that I hope will transfer over to our parks over here, but that's
I'm sure eventually. I know it's going to take years. It's going to take years and years, but they are really on the ball about planning their stuff out. I mean, Super Mario Land, and Epic Universe, all that
Yeah,
stuff. That was planned pretty close together. They tend to use the same,
right.
um, I don't want to say Imagineers, same engineers basically
Mhm.
for all the parks. So they'll take them all to they'll take them to Japan, and then they'll have them all designed for the same. So there's a cohesive look. It's not like you're getting three different experiences. It's really
Right.
so. Hopefully, if it's awesome, like we're hoping it is, then we will get something awesome sooner than later here.
We'll see. Fingers crossed. As you know, there's no room to build anything in Los Angeles, so I'm not very hopeful, but
Something
like
maybe like a back
maybe.
alleyway or something. You guys get like a
Like,
little corner or
I
something.
know it'd be like, here's Pokemon Alley. Yeah, that's the only room we're gonna have for anything. But speaking of builds, Disney is making a movie about the creation of Disneyland. They kind of equated it with kind of that tiny little backstage look that you got in Saving Mr. Banks when they recreated Disneyland for during the 60s or the 50s. And that was just like a small glimpse. But this one is going to be on Disney Plus, and David Gordon Green, who's the director of Halloween Kills, is going to be directing. And Evan,
What a natural choice,
what a natural choice. He is the only person I can think of.
Exactly. It
I
popped
can't
right
think
into my
of
head.
can't think of anybody else to direct this movie about Disneyland. That seems out of place, but
Maybe he's very versatile. He's very
maybe
broad, maybe
he really wants to get a Disney property under his belt here
maybe this
somewhere.
is like a horror movie, and like there's just it's gonna
Oh
be a
my
lot more
God.
gory. I don't know. Maybe they're Disney's new horror division. I don't know, but
This
I
is
don't really.
taking a turn. While they were like bulldozing those orange groves, like bodies were just
Oh no.
buried as the
That
creation
at
of Disneyland is happening.
Oh my god.
Well, the screenplay writer is the same writer as Beauty and the Beast Live and Snow White and
Okay.
the Huntsman. So Halloween Kills and Beauty and the Beast Live and Snow White and the Huntsman. Yeah, we'll see how
Quite a
those.
pedigree, yeah.
Yeah, we're on a very broad spectrum of
For
creators,
sure. For
so
sure.
we'll see how that works out. I mean, I would love like some kind of. It sounds like it's an actual movie. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
like it's going to be a documentary or anything. So I'd like
a
to see
historical fiction, like
right,
Saving Mr. Banks, but it's just
like
about Disneyland.
right about like Walt sitting on his bench saying, "I want a park somewhere my children and I can go and hang out," and then we'll see the orange groves getting bulldozed.
Yay! Oh, how heartwarming!
So touching, and oh my god, I hope they put in all the things that went wrong on like Disneyland's opening day.
I totally want to see that. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that that theme park history people like to hear is all the mishaps and all the things that were ultimately overcome to have the parks that we have today.
It's like this is the movie we want to see. Like we don't know if this is what they're going to be making, but
dead bodies.
Like we have suggestions for you if you would like to take us up on any of our thoughts.
Yeah, like the end credits, just stick our names on there. But I mean, that's what it sounds like to me, that it is going to be kind of a Saving Mr. Banks. I don't know how many, they obviously have a few years by then. They'll have a few years of experience of making feature-length films for their streaming platform. They've done a few. I think this might be the first live action that they're doing, just because it's only going to be released on Disney Plus, right? It's not intended for theaters at all. They've done a bunch of documentaries for it, and then they've done a lot of animated, just for the streaming service. But
so they have the history, like they have those resources available to them. Yes. They can't like fool the viewers into being like, this is what actually happened. Like we know what happened.
Well, they're gonna now. One of the things we wanted to talk about this time is the Disney Parks collection. That's there are documentaries.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of history about the Imagineers and the parks and the movies, and it's this huge collection of, I guess, entertainment and media on Disney Plus highlighting this stuff. So I think that's probably a natural segue into making feature films. I can't imagine that it'll be like a whole series, like won't fictionalize like the making of Epcot and then the making of. I just can't. Yeah. I can't see it being, enough fodder for that. But certainly the making of Disneyland.
That would be a really great sequel, though. Like the making of Walt Disney World, like post Walt and like going to Florida.
In the airplane that's still there.
Like they'll just feature the actual airplane that is actually still.
They can. It is literally still sitting there, so they could still use it. I'm still salty that they didn't bring it out for the 50th anniversary. It's just sitting there, but I mean, we'll see if it takes off. I just do wonder, how can you top Tom Hanks' performance? I mean, it's.
I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Theme Park Real Talk said it first. We have devised your first movie and also your sequel. So please call us for any more information that you may need.
You are welcome. You
are welcome, Disney creators. The two of us watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies, and especially on Disney Plus. So we wanted to talk about Muppets Haunted Mansion that came out October 8th. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me all of your thoughts.
Yeah, I watched it the day it came out. I'm a huge Muppets fan. I grew up with the original show. It started when I was very, very small, but by the time I got really into it, it was already like a really huge hit. And so I've always wanted, when Disney acquired the Muppets, I always wanted them to do a lot with it, because the Muppets are such a fun group of characters and they are so silly and timeless, and I always wanted them to do basically Muppets Haunted Mansion is what I always wanted Disney to do with the Muppets, is to overlay the Muppet silliness and humor and wit over existing ideas. And that's what the Muppets always did. They would always take Shakespeare and they would always take parody the modern shows and of the time and the sitcoms and other parts of the zeitgeist, and they would give it the Muppet treatment. And that was what was funny and fun about them, is that they were just this really great way to skewer things. And for me, the Muppets Haunted Mansion was just the absolutely perfect just middle ground between playing an homage to the Haunted Mansion ride, which, if you are a fan of the ride, there are so many Easter eggs. It is so cute. It's so true and faithful. It is obviously a labor of love in terms of the ride. And if you are a Muppets fan, again, tons of Easter eggs. There's already been broken down on the internet. If you want to, I would suggest seeing it first and seeing how many you catch. But I was able to catch quite a few of them. Because they really don't want to hide it too much. And there's like one great thing it does is center Gonzo as the heart of the Muppets, which is valid and totally true, because Gonzo is such a great character. But it really does pay so much honor to the actual ride itself. That's one of my favorite rides of all time.
Same.
And it's incredible. Like, you can just see how, like, just the wallpaper. So the wallpaper in the Haunted Mansion is the wallpaper from the rides, except that the faces in I think it's damask, that's sort of the kind of pattern, are Muppet faces instead of the scary faces. So like little details like that. It's just a perfect amalgam of the Muppets fandom and the Haunted Mansion fandom. And Taraji P. Henson as the character, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, as the character she plays is just perfect. I mean, she's just perfect. And I love the fact that Pepe the prawn, the king prawn, was one of. I have a pet shrimp. I'm an aquarium person. I have some aquariums here, and I have a pet shrimp, and his name is Pepe, named after even though he's not a shrimp, Pepe the prawn. So I was really happy to see him take center stage. It's just every character is there. Animal, Rizzo the rat.
I thought it was a missed opportunity to have Gonzo and Rizzo back together again.
He's there. I won't spoil it, but he was there briefly. Yeah.
I was just like, we could have had like a 30th anniversary throwback to
where was Camilla?
That's true.
So
I did not. Yeah.
I missed Camilla. I loved the Halloween party with Kermit dressed as Piggy and Piggy dressed as Kermit. But I mean, the cameos were all on point. It's just was exactly what they needed to do with the Muppets, and they should have been doing this all along. They've had the Muppets in their roster of characters for years, and they've just been neglecting them. They should have a whole Muppets land at this point. I mean, there's so much to do with them.
I mean, like, we had at California Adventure, we got to have Muppet Vision for the shortest amount of time. Like Muppet Vision was my favorite thing when I was 7 years old, going to Walt Disney World for the first time. I lost my mind over that. We had a
I've seen it so many times.
Right. We had a park hopper and I forced my parents to go all the way back over there just so I could watch it again. Because I'm like, I'm not leaving the state until I like watch this again. Because this is amazing. So when so when it was a California Adventure, I'm like, I just want to see it all the time. Like, I don't know. And I'm so sad that it's not there anymore. But
Me too.
And then they also did take them out, like right in Magic Kingdom. They took them out.
Pretty recently. And I mean, Disney has never really done right by the Muppets. And if this is the start of them doing so, then I will be a happy camper, because this is what they should have been doing all along. The writing is terrific. The cameos are on point. The matching up to the rides, it's clearly done by somebody who knows that ride inside and out and loves it. And, it was definitely for the fans, and just what they should have been doing with the Muppets all along. So I would love to see more of it. We should see more. I don't know. I kind of wanted to pose this question to our listeners, what they think the next theme park attraction should get the Muppets treatment,
All of them is my
all
answer.
Of them, right?
All of them is the
we
answer.
already have, we have Muppets Treasure Island, so I think Muppets Pirates of the Caribbean might be like a natural next step. I was thinking that, because they have Muppets Treasure Island, which was a really big hit, that Muppets Pirates of the Caribbean might be a next natural step, or something like Muppets Soarin' you go through the world. With the Muppets. Exactly. You have the Swedish chef, you have all these different, they are from different parts of the world. So if you had something like that, then maybe we could, of course, Sam the Eagle could bring us back to America, type of thing. So I can see the possibilities for the Muppets and having a ride overlay and having that turned into a film. And it's a short film, by the way. Muppets Haunted Mansion is only 54 minutes long. So it's a great Halloween viewing thing. But I would be very curious to hear from our listeners what they think the next attraction should be to get the Muppets.
I really think to promote the new incarnation of Splash Mountain, they should just have Muppet Splash Mountain with Tiana, and then just encourage more people to come and see the new Splash Mountain whenever they decide to renovate it. So
all over that.
Muppets, anything, we're shouting out for more Muppets.
They have to start. I mean, it's like if this is the tip of the iceberg, I'll be a happy camper, because they've never done right by the Muppets in any of the theme parks or anything like that. They have yet to utilize them to their fullest potential, and this definitely was a great start.
I agree. Give more to the Muppets, give more to the Haunted Mansion, just give more. But that's all the news that we have for this week. And thanks for listening.
Yes, so be sure to follow us on We are now on SoundCloud, we are on Spotify, we are on Google Play, and we are on iTunes. And the links to all of those are on our website at themeparkrealtalk.com. So please do like and subscribe.
We are on all the more socials over on Facebook. We're on all of our platforms, our Theme Park Real Talk. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And YouTube as well. We're on YouTube.
And YouTube.
YouTube channel. If you prefer to watch us talk about theme parks instead of just listening, we got you covered. The only one that we're not Theme Park Real Talk is Twitter, because
Twitter. That's right.
Ran out of characters. So that's Theme Park RT Pod. But otherwise, we are Theme Park Real Talk everywhere. So
also the advantage of seeing us on YouTube is you can look at our t-shirts, is because I'm wearing Sanderson.
We are representing. So.
We will be themed for theme parks every week. But thank you for listening. We'll be catching you next time.
See you real soon.